Hey guys, I'm back to give you my review of WWE's Monday Night Raw last night. That happened. And before the show went on there, they had a pyrotechnics malfunction that actually set the stage on fire. So they had to evacuate the building, and they evacuated the building to put out the fire. And so they ended up not using any pyro for any of the wrestlers' entrances, and they did not kick off the show with any pyro because of the malfunction that they had before the show went on the air. So the show decides to start off with CM Punk, the WWE Champion, coming out to indirectly give pretty much explain what he did to The Rock last week when right before Raw went off the air, where he attacked Rock after Rock came in and attacked Big Show for attacking Cena. And Punk got back in the ring, clotheslined Rock when he was going for the people's elbow on the Big Show, and gave him a GTS. And said the only reason he attacked Rock was that he thinks that Rock wants to make Raw all about him, even though he only comes back every 3-4 months about. And then Big Show comes out, interrupts Punk talking, and says that the only reason Punk was still champion was because he stopped John Cena from making Punk tap out with the STF, and says that he will be the next in line for the WWE Championship. And John Cena comes out and pretty much just jumps Big Show. No talking, just straight up jumps him. And attacks him, beats him down. Then the Raw GM, who was named last week, AJ, came out and made her first match as the new Raw GM for John Cena vs. Big Show for the #1 contendership to the WWE Championship for SummerSlam. And that would be the main event. And the first match was Santino Marella vs. Alberto Del Rio. Really, I'm getting sick of these two guys. Perfectly honest, they're not that talented of wrestlers. And the fact that Santino is the United States Champion, when I remember the United States Champion from WCW, the United States Championship was only for American wrestlers, not foreign wrestlers. But this was a non-title match. Alberto Del Rio won by submission. End of story. Was a pretty terrible match. I don't like either one of them. I think they both should have been gone a long time ago. And then they come back, and it looked like Brodus Clay was getting ready for a wrestling match, doing his little dance entrance thing, and then Vicky Guerrero comes out and says that he doesn't call it dancing, and she starts dance what she called dancing, which was just terrible. And then Damien Sandow came out, talked about the fact that he got beat up by D-Generation X on the War 1000 episode where Michaels hit him with Sweet Chin Music, and then he got pedigreed by Triple H. And then he promptly started attacking Brodus Clay. And then during the night, Daniel Bryan had been trying to go in and talk to AJ. And he finally decides to go into the office. And AJ didn't like that. And AJ put Daniel Bryan in a match later that night with Sheamus. Second match of the night was the Daniel Bryan versus Sheamus match, which they decided to have the people on Twitter pick the fight, which was between a no holds barred match, false count anywhere, or street fight. Pretty much all the same match, because they were all no rules. But the fans decided to pick a street fight, and it was a real good match for Sheamus. I'm a huge supporter of Sheamus. I think he's just a rough, tough SOB. Reminds me a lot of Stone Cold Steve Austin in the way that he just gets in there, brawls with the guy, wins the match. And, of course, Sheamus won the match after he went for one of his moves, which is called White Noise, which formerly, if you know the move really well, was done by Finlay, called the Celtic Cross. And he was going to do that to Daniel Bryan on the steel steps that Bryan brought into the ring. But Bryan counted out and pushed Sheamus off into the ropes. Sheamus bounced off, hits the brogue kick. Daniel Bryan landed right on the steel steps. And, of course, Sheamus won the match. And Daniel Bryan, after they come back from commercials, still in the ring, saying he's not going to leave until he has a doctor come check out his neck because he was claiming his neck hurt. And then Kofi Kingston and R-Truth came out, and Kofi tells Bryan to pretty much just get out of the ring because you're not going to hold the show hostage. And he won it, and Bryan then starts referencing Little Jimmy, the imaginary little kid that comes out with R-Truth all the time, and starts talking to him and everything, and then he proceeds to punt Little Jimmy out of the ring, and R-Truth gets out there, and then Daniel Bryan calls out these people in white suits that pretend to be like psych ward doctors and stuff to take away R-Truth, and AJ comes out and proceeds to have them take Daniel Bryan out instead of R-Truth. And the third match of the night was Kofi Kingston vs. Titus O'Neil. Kofi Kingston, talented wrestler. Titus O'Neil, I don't really know much about him. He's one of the newer guys. I don't really think I like their gimmick too much of him and his partner David Young, I think his name is. But the winner of the match ended up being Titus O'Neil. And they do a segment with CM Punk and John Cena. And Punk is talking to Cena, saying that he is not wishing Cena or Big Show luck in their match because he really doesn't care who wins the match. Pretty much trying to pull this cocky heel character that he started last week. The fourth match of the night was Heath Slater, who comes out, who up until the 1000th episode was posting opening challenges with legends. And he said any current WWE superstar come out to pretty much lose to him. And, of course, Randy Orton returns to the ring and pretty much makes pretty quick work of Heath Slater. Wins the match. And then they went back, did a segment with Daniel Bryan being interviewed by a so-called psych ward doctor character being played. Not really much there, just normal questions that are asked when you go into any type of place like that. The fifth match was Chris Jericho and Christian versus Dolph Ziggler and The Miz, which overall I think this was a decent match for Dolph Ziggler and The Miz, but I didn't think it was that great a match for Chris Jericho and Christian, because those are two former world champions. They've been there before, but still have Dolph Ziggler and Miz, although I don't think Dolph Ziggler and Miz should have ever been a world champion, or at least not yet, whereas Jericho and Christian had been in the business for a while before they finally got their first world title shots. Of course, the winners of the match ended up being Jericho and Christian. So, and then they went back to Daniel Bryan being given a Rorschach test to see what he saw. He said what he saw, and when the doctor got done, he put the pictures on the ground, well, on the table, I mean. and they were made a goat face, and Daniel Bryan got mad at him about that. And the sixth match of the night ended up being Tenzai, aka Albert, versus Tyson Kidd. And during the match, the fans were still chanting Albert, not Tenzai. They were chanting Albert in reference to his former character in WWE. And the winner ended up being Tenzai, but because Tenzai kept assaulting Kidd for beating him about a month ago, I think, the ref decided to reverse the decision, give the win to Tyson Kidd via disqualification. And then we have cut back to the Daniel Bryan segment with the supposed doctor. The doctor says that Bryan is completely sane, and Daniel Bryan leaves the office, and then he runs into Kane. And Kane says that he's Daniel Bryan's anger management counselor, and Kane proceeds to beat up Daniel Bryan. And the main event of the evening was the #1 contenders match for the WWE Championship at SummerSlam between Big Show and John Cena. The match was back and forth the entire night, the entire match. It was a decent match. I really can't stand John Cena though. I don't know why he still even has a job, because he's only good on the mic. He really can't wrestle. And of course, during the course of the match, back and forth, like I said, and CM Punk, after Big Show threw John Cena across the announcer's table and hit CM Punk gets into the match and proceeds to attack both Cena and Big Show. And he walks and announces that the winner of this match is nobody. Pretty much saying that he doesn't have to defend the title at SummerSlam. AJ comes out and announces that Punk will defend the WWE Championship at SummerSlam in a triple threat match with John Cena and The Big Show. Now, I'm a huge fan of CM Punk. I would like to see him win. And of course, last week, The Rock made the statement that whoever the WWE Championship is at the Royal Rumble, that he gets the shot. And I'm really hoping to see CM Punk last that long to take on Rock at the Royal Rumble. That's my personal opinion of it. And that was my review for Raw this week. And I will be gone for a little while. I'm going away, so it'll probably be a while before my next video. So I will see you guys later.